So I have actually spent a little bit of time, like, because how do you practice for something like this? But I have been spending a little bit of time just thinking, like, what kind of choices would Quinn make for this last one? And I guess that's kind of helped me because I kind of thought about, like, what kind of pattern would I take in order to get to that person. So it's a little bit like practicing,
Okay.
but mostly it's just been a matter of, like, trying to figure out, like, what's Quinn gonna do for this.
I really like the idea of you sitting Nicole down with the top, like a stopwatch, and you're like, "All right, babe, you gotta get me to this person."
Gonna put on my headband.
She's like, "I just want to sleep." You're like, "Not now." There's a pizza riding on this.
It'll be your pizza too.
That wasn't part of the deal.
Oh,
if I find anyone but you is eating that pizza, you'll hear from my lawyer, who is the cat behind me. But he is a professor, so he's smart.
That's just how lawyers work. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the moment. The decisive clash between... I'm just thinking about that song. That's such a great riff.
It really is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw off the cadence.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was making this up as I went along, and clearly I did not have the clutch concentration skills to carry through with it. So we're just going to stop doing that.
Could that be a sign of what is to come? This is where...
if I'm just going to get easily distracted by every single possible thing.
This is like in our Linkin Park My Way music montage hype package video. Halfway through, it's you being like, "Oh, I've gotten distracted and lost my cadence," and then it comes in with like a TV image of me like, Nick always loses his cadence during the biggest, most important times, and this is as big as they come. I wonder if he's gonna have it.
Yeah, that's why I never became a professional athlete.
Yeah. That was the only deciding factor. Otherwise, you were Michael Jordan-esque in every sport. Badminton, yep.
Which in some cases is bad, but
yeah. No, you were a compulsive gambler and potential liar in every sport. The power walking community is like, we can't afford you doing this. We don't have a professional circuit. It's just the Olympics.
Oh god, guys, we have some lovely manga to talk about with you today, but also there is a pizza on the line, and I will run through any of you who try to get in my way as I try and claim it, as I rightfully deserve to. But that'll be at roughly the midway point of this setup. We are going to stick with the format, and we are going to cover our Wrestle Goofy trivia times at the usual time in the program.
This might be the first time, because I hear from a lot of people, they're like, "Look, I love your podcast. I'm grateful that you have timestamps so I can stamp past the wrestling quizzes." This might be the first time people are like, I'm gonna click it to go right to the wrestling quizzes because I have to know. Oh, we should have done like a Marvel does whenever they release one of their big movies, where they create like a little image. It's like, hey, don't spoil this. Like, keep quiet about the results, so maybe the people who can't listen live can find out the next day and still be shocked.
Yeah, it'll be a poster of you going like, shh, and then me in the background, either like with my head in my hands or like, or yeah.
Well, if we have two different versions, that kind of gives away the answer. I'm like, don't spill the secret. File, Nick wins.
Or we could do it, or I guess we could do like the actual competent thing and have like both versions, one on each side of you, and then it's like,
the reflection. You're high and then you're low. Exactly.
Yeah, I've never been high in my life. I'm
high on life.
Well, no, just
You're like, nah, I definitely cruise at that.
You guys have no idea. Like, I kind of peak in terms when I'm on this show. It was so boring otherwise. Oh my god. I guess I'm in a good mood, so maybe that's a good sign.
Right.
But we have manga to talk about today, everyone. We're gonna start with a chapter I almost forgot happened this week. I have to say, it's My Hero Academia, chapter 376. There is a cool 2-page color spread with a bunch of characters in like medieval fantasy attire.
Yeah, it's the top 10. They did a new popularity poll, and this is the top 10.
I guess Uraraka's in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially the same top 10, I feel like, from last time, except that weird earthquake dude wasn't in it this time. And someone else must have popped up in his place.
Probably Ida, honestly.
Ida's always high. I think it was Kaminari, maybe.
Maybe.
Something like that. Anyway. I don't know. Maybe it was Uraraka, actually. It could have been.
All the pretty boys are there. Yeah. And the problematic dad. So, yeah.
Ida?
Yeah. You didn't know about that. He's been keeping that a secret from everyone.
You haven't seen his Twitter account. Oh, well, you're in for some surprises.
Okay. So this is actually
Let's just say he's subscribed to Twitter Blue. Leave it at that.
God.
That truly has become the perfect way to find if you should block somebody. If you see the check mark, you click it, they're like, subscribe to you. You're like, gone. Never again.
It's like, I've never heard of this person. Let me click on their name. Oh, legacy verified.
There
okay. Okay. All right. I'll actually have to judge them by the content of their tweets, I suppose. If they spent $10 a month on this, sorry, $8 a month.
Unless you have Apple, then it's $12 a month, I think, or $11.
Oh, right. Yeah. So last time in My Hero Academia, a big thing happened, which was that Kurogiri awakened and he warped all the villains into the actual important conflict. And also, Toga used twice his powers and started summoning an army with the self-cloning forever ability. So there was an implication that, oh man, did Tsuyu get fucking killed by Toga as twice? And then it was revealed, no, she's fine. She just like had her goggles taken off her head. That's kind of it. So Uraraka and Tsuyu are going after Toga, and Uraraka had the badass final line. I'm putting massive quotes around badass of, we still haven't had our chat about romance, and Toga has had her whole moment of like, I want the people who want to kill me to die moment. So she just says, I'm not some blushing schoolgirl in love anymore. And yep.
Their relationship has changed. I mean, look, we didn't cover that chapter. I don't actually have a ton to say about it, but I will say, like, there's some progress there. I would say, of the many things happening in My Hero, I am interested to see what they end up doing with Toga and Uraraka. It should go somewhere, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes.
Yeah, the key word there is should, unfortunately. Yes. We'll see. So there's a lot of problems going on. There are hordes and hordes of twice clones now. There's a fire that is messing up a lot of the heroes, including Komori, the mushroom girl from Class 1B, who keeps on kind of just like coming back. I think that Horikoshi kind of realized that people liked how weird she was, and so it just kind of like occasionally just kind of puts her back in the manga.
Yeah, maybe she's a fan favorite.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't either. I'm guessing. I saw the character popularity poll. I believe the second most popular character was Jiro, as she should be.
Yeah, that's why she's in the in this 2-page spread there, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's why she lost her ear.
That gets brought up in this chapter. Shortly afterwards, Uraraka and Tsuyu run into Tokuyami and Jiro, and they're like, "Oh my God, Jiro, your ear!" And she's like, "I count myself lucky that this is all the demon lore took from me," which is the way that someone who's lost their ear talks.
So yeah, the way someone in that fight would respond, they're like, "Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. I'll be real."
Well, and in particular, this is all the demon lore took from me, as opposed to, yeah, I got kind of fucked up.
Yeah. It's a polite way of saying, like, it hurts, bitch, but it would hurt a lot more if I was dead, so, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. So, they just kind of observe, like, wow, this is really, really bad. We can't even get close enough to help out because the fire is so intense. And our strategy has basically failed because all the villains that we separated out on purpose have been brought back together. We're screwed. Endeavor recognizes that Dabi has copied Shoto's ability, and he demands to know what his son has done to his other son. And Toei just kind of starts going on about how, like, well, I mean, I'm not going to get to have my big moment the way I wanted to anymore, but I'm just going to kill as much that you love as I possibly can on my way out, essentially. Which, yeah, that sounds about right for him. Yeah. Weirdly, quote unquote, sexy All For One talks about how smart he is.
Every time this guy shows up, I'm like, who is this just dude hanging around all these shots? And I'm like, oh wait, this is the big antagonist of this series. Like, there was like a group shot like in last chapter of like, you know, split panels of everybody there, and I was like, who's this like normal ass dude that's there? And I'm like, oh right, the big bad guy, the demon lord.
He talks about how he has his chain of events that he can foresee, and now everything is going in his favor. And look at me, I'm so smart because things were lucky for me. And now he's like, all right, yeah, I'm just going to keep on following the way that things are rolling right now, and I'm going to get myself to Tamura so that I can basically clinch this battle and have my reincarnation basically win. As he goes away from Hawks, Hawks is like, you sure seem in an awful hurry, pal. Yeah, okay. But he says, don't you have faith in Shigaraki? And All For One says, well, in the truest sense, that body is not yet complete. There's a version why this version of me is still essential. It's like, I mean, you didn't have to tell him that, but I guess you just like hearing yourself talk. Yeah. So that's fine, I guess. Yeah.
My dude just likes to gab. He's like, I should start up a podcast. Like, I really like to talk. I could get guests. I know people. Like, I could just have people on and we could just shoot the shit. And Hawks is like, a lot of people just do that already. You kind of need like a niche for your podcast. Yeah.
It's like, no. Listen, it's the perfect plan. I'll get cool guests on my podcast, and I'll steal their quirk, and then we'll talk about
how cool it is that I have their quirk now and they don't.
It's like, that's niche. No, sorry. That's too clever an idea for All For One. He's like, look, I'll steal their quirk, and then we'll sit down and we'll talk about the newest season of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's like, I steal their quirk, they get real sad about it, and then we recap one episode of Coach in a day. Like a day? That show didn't run that long.
Listen.
Did you know that Patrick Starfish was in it? Well, Patrick Starfish wasn't in it. The man who voices Patrick Starfish is in it. It's the same thing to me. Do you understand cartoon characters aren't real? I need to know this. Do you understand that they are not real people?
Did you know that George of the Jungle was the guy who beat the Rock in the Scorpion King?
And then eventually, I guess he gained a lot of weight. It's wild. I think he was a robot for a little bit.
Okay, so Hawks basically tries to just like take command of the situation in the Endeavor fight and say, hey, look, our plan is completely busted now. Our allies can't support us because of this ridiculous heat. You've got to stop Toya. And All For One starts being like, oh, what a cruel command for him, but as you can see, you abandoned him. And Hawk's just like, oh my god, shut up. You lost to the number one hero before. Shut up. Shut up. You're not cool. You're not funny. You're not great. Shut up. Sorry, that's me. That's me. He does like other stuff. But yeah, Hawks says all that, and Endeavor gets a weird kind of look in his face as he realizes that he has a duty to carry out, especially with Toya right here.
Yes. Interesting stuff. It's a short little chapter, but it still ended up being pretty fun.
It is at least doing stuff we haven't seen recently, and yeah.
All right, Nick, let's talk about Undead Unluck. Number 141, Face to Face. I was going to sing that song Face to Face, but I forgot all the way it goes, so never mind. We open with Gina, who has used her Unchange against Autumn, and she's like, I won't let you change anything I hold dear. That's what my Unchange is. Fucking rips it in half, basically. Actually, there's like a big emotional montage in the middle, but...
There is.
Where she's just like, yeah, I can do this, I can fight, thinking of Fuko about how she was like, you cared for me, and thinking back to the scene of her crying after about how she's like, we have to change this organization so that people don't have to suffer like Miss Gina did, and she's like, and you kept doing it all for my sake, so she makes her big hat sword thing, and then she's like, boom, any rule that dares to try is going to feel the change from my Unchange, makes her sword, slashes Autumn right in half, and they're like, holy shit, that is wild what you can do.
Yep. And she like splits the clouds with it and stuff.
Yeah, it leaves like a big crater. Captures Autumn, and then Fuko starts to come out of the little book she was turned into, and she's like, "Oh, I'm back. Does that mean Autumn?" And before she can finish it, we get one of the best reaction panels I think in Undead Unluck history, as Gina tackles into Fuko, and it's just brift. It's a great facial image from her. And she's like, great, you did it. And I'm sorry I showed you all that stuff. And Gina's like, no, don't be. It's not your fault. Besides, the previous me really did love you. The one inside the book told me. And she said, our feelings will remain unchanged to the end of time and beyond. And Fuko's like, oh, cool. Thanks, Miss Gina. And then Gina's like, I don't like that. That was like the past me. And this is the current me, right? So I think you should just call me Gina. Aww. And then we get the little narration that's like January 9th, 1999, Operation Metamorphol succeeds, essentially. And we cut over to base, and we see Gina has basically taken a little bit of inspiration from her prior self, and she's now kind of tied the coat around her waist and given herself a bit of a youthful kind of fun appearance now. And she's like, yep, I just did a little way of copycatting. It's my way of paying my respects. And then they talk about the soul orb thing that Fuko used. And it's like, oh yeah, what do you want to do with it? And she's like, oh, there's just something I want to try. She walks in on Nico and Ichiko, who are having their fights as they usually do, where he's just like, take a damn break, you're getting in my way, like, fuck you, I'm gonna die anyway, so like, just let me work, basically. And Fuko's like, oh, perfect timing. And just sucks Ichika right out of her body, her soul right out of her body. And she's like, hey, yeah, use this to extract your soul. It's because negation abilities are attached to the soul. Therefore, I figured if I removed your soul from your body, the effects of unsleep would go away and your body could finally get some rest. And they look down and she is peacefully sleeping. And Chica's like, oh, thanks, that's awesome. And she's like, yeah, it puts a little bit of stress on the user, and I'm hoping that you'll take this chance to get a hang of astral projection. She's like, that technique came around from Ghost being added. And she's like, ha, now look, Nico, I'll never fall behind you again. I'm going to keep...
Also, she's putting her hands on her hips with her hair.
Yes.
What a weird, cool detail.
She's like, it's only a matter of time before the director's seat is mine, and Nico just says, thank goodness. Thank freaking goodness, Ichiko. And she's like nervous. She's like, holy shit. He can't see me because he's not a negator. He can't see this is happening. So she's like, Fuko, please tell him now. And Fuko's like, hey, Mr. Chico's soul is watching you. And he just like throws it to the side. He's like, whatever. Drop dead, you worthless jerk. That one dude who's like another scientist comes in and is like, hey, we got a little detail that came in. It's time to start going after. We had to capture this guy. And they're like, hey, this dude's like a world boxing champ, isn't he? How are we going to manage that? And also the ability, the tragedy from his ability transfer happens during this match, right? That means we're going to have to let him fight it out. And it's like during a broadcast, like, how are we going to do it? Fuko's just like, I have an idea. And like Nico's like, is it a reasonable idea? She's like, don't worry, it'll be fine. It'll go great. And Gina's just very confident. Like, it'll be A-okay, Uncle Nico. The fight with Autumn went well, and Fuko comes up with these plans because she believes in our abilities, so I believe in her. Nico's just like, whatever. What's the plan?
I like how he kind of doesn't really go along with it until Ichiko seems to get her approval.
Yeah.
So.
Cut over. It's now January 29th, 1999 in Las Vegas. Nick, you know what important boxing thing happened in Las Vegas?
Many things.
That's right. That is where Ivan Drago kills Apollo Creed during an exhibition match. Living in America.
In 1999 it happened too,
yeah,
right?
It's pretty well, I mean, it's very far down the line, but yes. Void is there. Wildly, we are actually here. Who's just like, hey, we're having this press conference because my opponent must have run away, and I think he made the right You know what? I'm not doing this justice. Nick, why don't you give his speech a try?
Well, how should I do this?
That's what calls to your heart, Nick.
All right, hang on. Because no. He's too much trash talk. That's against the character. Hang on. Because his scrawny looking net looked like a dried up french fry. I'm just glad I don't have to knock his block off, dude.
And then some people come in and they're like, whoa, who are you? Where's security? And who should show up? A Fuku who's like, oh, Void folks, your built is as good as mine. You've gotten sloppy, folks. You haven't been paying attention at home, and Mrs. Volk's so lonely. Yeah, you haven't been thinking about that light in the garage you haven't been changing, huh? It's been weeks since she asked you to change that. You know who's been in your house doing it? It's been me, folks. I've been in there, changing your light bulbs and fucking your wife.
Oh, the implication. You really stopped being coy right at the end there.
So Fuko has apparently found a way to make an opening in the match so that she'll challenge Volks. I have to assume some absolute insanity is about to happen to justify why this person who, to my knowledge, has no professional boxing career is attempting to challenge.
Is a different gender, probably doesn't have a fighting license, is a different weight class.
Oh, certain. I was like, I think Volks has like a 2-foot lead on her or something like that. It's wild, the height difference between them.
Yeah, I'm glad that nobody immediately is like, oh, what a great fight that is. It's just like, oh, this is a weird thing that's happening at this event. They're just taking pictures. Like it.
And I do like the chapter ends with Nico being like, still think we should have trusted her, and Gina's just like, maybe.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, I do love the comedy of these guys all interacting with each other.
Yeah, and if there's a way to actually get kind of interesting what the hell's going to happen with fucking Void Volks, this is a pretty good way of going about it, I think. Just let's do a freaking professional boxing match mini plot and see what we can squeeze out of it.
It's wild to think that Void, who is an entirely forgettable character killed in like chapter 3, actually ended up being like a fortuitous thing for the manga, because now it has extra content to create in this new loop that we've never seen before. Like when we eventually get to like Chikara and Top and all that sort of stuff, we have a general idea of how those things will go. Whereas here it's like, oh, I have no idea what we're about to do.
Yeah, it's almost like getting like a spin-off manga about the unimportant characters within the actual main plot line.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right.
Let's talk about Chainsaw Man. Chapter 115, High Schoolers These Days.
Scared the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
That's the My Chemical Romance lyric. I want people to know I wasn't actively afraid of high schoolers.
Okay. I thought you were talking about it's like high schoolers.
It's like
scary times. Scary times.
They had some song where they're like, "High schoolers share the living shit out of me."
It's teenagers.
Oh,
Teenagers
I thought it was high schoolers are teenagers. Let's not nickel and dime me, even though the entire premise of my reference was wrong. Semantics, Nick. Jesus. Now you're just embarrassing both of us.
At least it still fits the cadence.
Yeah, that's
high
why
schoolers share. Yeah. Asa is pretty goddamn miserable. She is hanging out, just lying in the middle of the endless hallway in the aquarium, and she says, like, this is hell. The hallway goes on endlessly. The hands on the clock don't move. You can't flush the toilets, and the fish started rotting in their tanks yesterday. Oh boy.
Brutal. So at that point, they would have had to have been in here for like days, right? Or just flip that. I don't remember the Eternity arc from the first Chainsaw Man. I've like, for whatever reason, that's it out of my head.
I think that they were in there for like a couple of weeks, and I guess if the fish aren't being fed, then they would starve.
Oh, they would die almost.
Quickly,
that's why I assume it'd be a couple days, though. Yeah,
it'd be at least a few days, probably. So the president of the student council / devil hunting club is just a giant sign over his head, like, I'm going to die now.
I suck ass.
He's just the only person who is near Asa right now, and he says, we'd have escaped right by now if you hadn't broken that cell phone. And Asa, I am so proud of her, is so far beyond feeling guilt by this point that she's just like, you're a Chainsaw Man, well, why don't you do something? And the guy's like, what do you mean I'm Chainsaw Man? It's like, you've got the starter cord on your chest. He says, oh, that. Yeah, it's that's a surgical implant.
I love it. Like, Asa's like, what?
So yeah, see, I'm the president of the Chainsaw Man Society's high school chapter. Which is such a weird thing. I was a runner-up in the Chainsaw Man quiz show contest. Runner-up, by the way, not winner.
Yeah.
So he's a real big Chainsaw fan. He's a Chainsaw fan, man. Owner of every piece of Chainsaw Man merchandise. I can't blame you for thinking I was him. Those have nothing to do with being Chainsaw Man. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's like, what about that time where you opened your chest and were like, hey, I'm Chainsaw Man.
Chainsaw Man. So also,
he's like, you must have thought I was Chainsaw Man from all the Chainsaw Man t-shirts I had.
You must have thought I was Chainsaw Man from the time I showed you the Chainsaw Man thing and said, I'm Chainsaw Man.
She's like, no, it was because I heard you got second place in a trivia contest about Chainsaw Man.
God damn it. So Asa just says, so you're not Chainsaw Man? And he starts laughing. And he says, well, if I were Chainsaw Man, we would have broken out of this hellhole in no time. And he just starts laughing and laughing. And then he starts clearly breaking down. He's like, save me, Chainsaw Man! He's like crying while laughing. Everyone's doing fine. They're all dealing with slowly starving to death in an escapeless place outside of time and space just fine. Honestly, the person coping the best with it is fucking Denji. Yeah. Because of course he is.
He's doing great. He's living his dream right now. Well, not. He's not. He's like, but he's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, well, he's not going stir crazy seemingly yet. Yeah. Yoshida says, "All right, hey,
a man changes after he eats the love of his life."
Yeah,
you get steeled by those experiences.
Your metal gets tested. Yeah. Yoshida says to him, "Hey, that's your cue, there, Chainsaw Man. You gotta do something." And Denji looks at him for a second in a, I'm not sure if you actually want me to seriously answer that kind of way. But they says, I mean, look, I killed the devil the last time because he actually, came after us. But this time he's hiding. I can't. What am I gonna do? Can't you do something? And Yoshida reveals that he has a flip phone as well, and he decides to kind of hold it like L, which is kind of weird. And Denji's like, "What? You've got one?" But Yoshida says, "Well, even if we have a signal, we can't actually get a call out of here. It's been probably over 3 days, and if help hasn't arrived, I'm guessing that time inside the aquarium has stopped." So that makes sense. Like, yes, even if you have a signal to contact someone outside, time is running differently for you, so you can't communicate with anyone. And the other members of the Devil Hunters Club are kind of showing different levels of getting a bit of cabin fever. The big eye patch guy is like shadow boxing, which is honestly the most normal that any of the three of them are acting. The cowardly one is licking the glass on one of the tanks, so they're doing fine.
They're doing just great. They're gonna get out of this and be a-okay.
Yep. Yoshida says, to be honest, even I've made peace with death this time. Which, it's Yoshida, so do you really believe him, or is he just waiting around for Denji to do something? He says to Denji, do you think the Chainsaw Man would eat the Death Devil for us?
Very interesting phrase.
Mm-hmm. Just gonna like slide that in there. Yeah. Denji decides to go talk to Asa because he thinks that even Yoshida is going crazy. And he goes to go talk to Asa, who has gotten inside one of the exhibit tanks. I guess one of the more kind of like turtle ones, because she's able to like sit down in it. And she says, "Hey, everyone else is going crazy. Are you holding up okay?" And Asa pauses for a second and says, "I'm hungry." And then she says, "Well, so eat some fish." She's like, "I can't eat fish." And there's just kind of a pause between them. Moss has got her head in her arms, and she finally says, "I'm sorry I asked you on a date. It's my fault that you're mixed up in all this. And you're not going to understand this, but I was trying to turn you into a weapon. But even in this position where I'm cornered and starving, I can't do it. And it's not because I don't have the guts. It's not because it goes against my principles. The real reason I can't is because I have no idea what's right or wrong. My life is just one long string of attempts to avoid making mistakes. And that's why I'm a total bore." It's very sad and just exposes all of the self-loathing and problems that she's been going through since before we even met her. And she tells all this to Denji, who doesn't hear it because of a combination of he's doing something else, probably walking around to the back of the exhibit, and also because she's got her head in her arms and is just talking into her arms really quietly. Because the next thing we see is Denji has sat down in the tank with Asa, and he says, "What are you muttering to yourself about?" And she's shocked that he's there, and he's like, "Hey, you can't eat fish, right? You ever tried starfish? Ta-da! It's got a starfish for her to eat," which is probably a bad idea.
There are a ton of things I love about this. One, I do love that we do get to see the Denji who really does seem to legitimately care about people. We all agree, Denji, very rough exterior. Leaves a lot of bad first impressions, not a lot of great second impressions. Third and fourth even ain't so hot. But eventually, you do get to a good side of him. I love the detail of just him climbing inside the tank. Is a very sweet thing. And other people pointed this out. In Asa's little stupid fucking monologue about starfish, she mentioned they were edible. I wonder if he heard that, and that's why he's trying to give her starfish. I feel like that's a detail that
he actually was listening, even though he was bored out of his mind.
Yeah, I feel like that's a detail we'll never get confirmed, but that feels like something you could very easily read into that exchange. And I think that's very sweet.
Yeah. This is a very, very heartwarming exchange between the two of them. And I think that if you're going to find a way for Asa and Denji to have even a single point where they're actually getting along, then this is a very nice way to do it. I have no idea how long it'll last, given that, they're kind of still on a collision course. But hey, if there's an emotional connection between them of any sort when that collision happens or comes close to happening, then we'll be much more invested in it when it does.
I think I'm ready for these characters to go from enemies to friends.
And be frenemies? Or be friends?
Anna Friends is a new one. So let's trademark that. Let's start printing the t-shirts.
All right, stamped it. All right.
Now they can't take it from us.
That's right. We didn't go anywhere to do anything, but we stamped it in an imaginary way. Therefore, it's ours. It's like calling dibs. Spy Family Mission 73. Oh, there is a flashback to some bad times. Turns out that the guy who is running this kidnapping operation had a daughter, and she was taking part in the peaceful demonstrations that were, that the government against the government and stuff, and she got fucking killed. And that's why he has kind of joined this movement that is going against them. So Billy sees like the corpse of his teenage daughter and decides that he needs to do something about it. There is, as we've come to find out, seemingly more going on about the circus that is not just what this guy is telling him, because he doesn't actually know for certain what happened with his daughter. But yeah, Anya's on the bus. It's night, and they're still keeping watch over all the kids. The guy who is actually driving the hijacked bus says like, "Oh, shouldn't we try and get Bruce moving with the second bus?" And they're like, "No, we're trying to avoid radio contact. His hostages are our trump card now." Oh, the government has found out about it. And Yuri and a team of people move in and freaking tear gas them and beat them up. Yes. And Yuri gets shot in the shoulder during it, and he kicks the guy who got him in the stomach, and gets to be cool for about one page before going because he's no longer high on adrenaline. So he got shot.
I preferred the scene where he got shot. I thought that was his best character moment, when he got shot and writhed around in pain. And my least favorite part of the chapter is when people started attending to his injury. I thought that was a real low point of the chapter. Wasn't a big fan of it. That sucked.
No, don't show him empathy. No. The kind of creepy looking government guy who is trying to, take over the operation from the police, gets permission to take things over from the police. And he immediately gets on a megaphone and talks to Billy and the others and says, "All your comrades from the other bus are fucking dead. We're going to kill you unless you free the children." Okay, cool. Bye. He also tells them they have until dawn. And of course, the terrorists start to freak out about this. One of them turns to Billy and is like, "What would your daughter say if she saw you like this? We're not going to surrender." And then the guy is like, "Billy's shaken now. He's no good to us. We can't count on him. So I'll be the one to do it. I'll blow up the bus and all the hostages with it." And Anya reads his mind, knows this is going to happen. And she's like, "Oh, this is bad. He's actually going to blow us up." A strike force starts to approach the bus, and everyone's like, wait a minute. I thought you said they had until dawn." He's like, no. We're not actually going to entertain the thought of them, leaving here alive. We're going to attack them under cover of night. I'm going to kill them all. And that's that. And it's like, yay, the government's full of good people.
Can't be too coy with it.
Nope. Anya realizes that they're coming because she can read their minds, and she also knows that they're in big trouble if this happens, so she decides to take action. She stands up from her seat, and she stands in the aisle between seats to do something. And that's where the chapter ends.
I am very intrigued I don't know what'll happen, but I'm very excited to see what little Anya is going to come up with because it looks like she's in a pretty rough spot. But I'm excited for her to get like a big hero moment.
Yeah.
We've kind of established like Yor and Lloyd aren't here to save the day. We now know what Yuri's involvement is going to be, and it's not to fix everything. So
Right.
I'm curious to see. It looks like this is something that Anya has to get herself out of, and I'm very excited to see what they do.
Yeah, that seems to be what the setup is leading us towards. And yeah, let's see how them Duke boys get out of this one. So.
Yes. Now, Nick, I have some good news and some bad news for you. The bad news is we have to wait a little bit longer to get to the PPP Wrestler game because we had to talk about Eden Zero. The good news is we've already read this chapter, so it'll be quick.
Yeah.
It's the first chapter all over again, except they remember their memories halfway through in a montage of a bunch of scenes of them interacting, including many, like a scene of Shiki looking at her crotch. And I'm like, cool, what wonderful memories we've shared together.
It's weird because you start off with the early memories that they have, and then you go to some of the adventure ones, and then it's to be like, oh, just stupid, goofy ones that have nothing to do with like their actual relationship, but that are kind of memorable because it was Eden Zero being stupid. And then there are some like much more romantic-y, ship teasy kind of moments between them. And in a way, I could kind of appreciate that. Honestly, if it went on like a little bit longer and you actually had a chance to kind of see like the different sides of their relationship, and then as it grew much more intimate and meaningful as it got close to them just rejoining us in the present. But I don't know. The fact that there's just that moment of Shiki staring at Rebecca's crotch, and then it's immediately followed up with that time they were in the VR program and Shiki had a giant body and was in a Speedo, just kind of sticks with you a little bit too long before you come out of it. I mean, and it's stupid.
The real problem is that they've been separated for all of 60% of one chapter. It's not like we've been waiting. Like, there will eventually be these similar emotions when Fuko does meet up with Andy. It's been established they've separated intentionally, and then she had an opportunity to know where he is, and she's like, no, we stuck to our things. There's going to be emotion when presumably months and months have passed, whereas here it's just like, I don't know, last week they were talking, so I'm not like, oh my god, they're together again. It's just kind of like, all right. Yeah. So, that's it.
That said, that's what I've come to expect from Eden Zero.
That's true. Well, Nick, I'm not going to tell you if it's the winner, but I will say one of our more popular entries in our poll was for Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest. So you could potentially, if you lose this bet, be reading a lot more Hero.
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. No. It's not going to happen.
Oh, because he's confident. He's figured it out.
All right. Let's talk about Akane-banashi, Chapter 44, First Practice on the Road. So we kind of just get like a pretty rapid wrap-up of the event that Akane was attending, where she saw Rokuro's performance in the previous chapter. And then, Urara goes on afterwards. There's a moment where Akane goes to gets her a green tea, and Urara's like, no, I'm parched, so water would be better. So Akane goes off in order to get a different drink, and this leaves Rokuro and Urara alone for a moment to talk about her. And Rokuro says, do you think she's going to meet your expectations? And Urara says, well, I don't know. It depends on what happens next. And Rokuro says, and how about me? Have you thought about my proposal? And Urara says, yes. And I said I would give you my answer after hearing your performance. I will contact you again. And then Akane comes back with the water that she was sent out for, and both of them are gone. So this is great. Don't do this to people. It's not nice. The journalist that Akane got a chance to talk to previously, just says like, "Oh yeah, she went back to the changing room," and Akane is like, "All right, thanks," and she turns to go away, and he stops her. Is like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to that Rokumekai that you're gonna be at, so good luck." But when she leaves, he thinks to himself, I listened in when she talked about her past with Arakawa that day. So if I apologize to her for like snooping on the conversation, that's only going to make me feel better about it. If I'm going to write an article about her story, I should only do it after she tells me herself, and I'll stick to that principle. I'm in your corner, Akane Arakawa.
There you go. He's turned around. He's not a dickhead anymore.
It's a nice moment, and it's nice to just to have a moment of like, I'm a journalist and I have journalistic integrity. I was not told something with permission to print it, so I'm not going to screw over this 15-year-old girl any further than I already have.
She's 18, isn't she?
No, she's like 16. So
I'm pretty sure she's older than that. She was graduating high school.
I don't think she's 18 yet. I think she's getting there though.
Okay.
I forget. I'm not gonna hold myself to that.
No pizza bet, Nick. It's happening.
Nope. Akane has got renewed confidence, and she's feels like she's got her sense of direction again. And so she goes to Urara, who says, "Yep, we're going to practice the story starting tomorrow. So prepare yourself." And Akane's like, "Yeah, I'll be ready." They meet the next day at a karaoke studio. A very, very nice one.
I was gonna say that I really
an obscenely nice one.
I just thought it was her fucking living room, bro. How fucking nice
I thought it was too. I mean, like karaoke halls, like in Japan, can be fancy. This is a fucking fancy karaoke.
It has vases in it.
Yeah,
like, what, and mirrors. Like, what is this shit?
So Urara's regular assistant is also there, and Akane is there, and she's kind of just like shocked, and she's like, "I mean, like, you told me that I learned the story at karaoke," and even Akane is like, "Wait, this is a karaoke room? What the hell?" But she also says, "I thought you were kind of supposed to learn your master's stories at their home." And Urara's assistant says, "Well, actually, it's often that you learn backstage or at a Rakugo Federation practice space. It's probably rarer to learn at home. But, Akane's background in Rakugo is not typical." So, the assistant also pulls out a phone, which Akane is like, "What's that for?" She's like, "Oh, I'm going to record the audio." It's an oral tradition, so there's no official script to it, and so the student's supposed to hear the teacher perform and learn it that way. But it's kind of hard to memorize a story you've heard on the spot, so we record it with our smartphones or an audio recorder. Wait, have you never been taught a story before? And the guy's like, no, I've been taught stories before. I just, I've been learning it since before I ever actually had a phone, so it never occurred to me to do that. So that they established all that. And then it's time for Akane to, learn the story from Urara. And she's like, "All right, yeah, this is a big moment for me. I'm going to learn something from a different master." Urara says, "Okay, May 19th."
She comes in with a narrator voice.
Yeah. But she does, a very audio recording kind of thing. Like I'm establishing what date it is, and she's like, "I'm now beginning a training session for fetching tea." But she also says, "Mayura, since you're here too, then you're also going to learn it." And she explains how she learned the story from Shiraku, and she says, "And I'm going to teach you the format that I use for this story." There is a moment where Mayura says, in Rakugo, it's taboo to watch another's performance if you're an audience member. So even a direct apprentice can only listen to their master's performance as though they are in the audience within the context of a lesson. And the first time I heard her, I was so entranced that I couldn't even learn anything from it. That's just how different it is to be in her immediate presence from watching The Wings. So she wonders if Akane is going to keep it together. And Akane is just intense, focused, paying attention, and she's like, yeah, just ready to go. a half an hour goes by,
which is wild.
She's going through,
like, I know that Rakugo is kind of long, but like in my mind, I'm just like, fuck. That's so
how
long.
do you listen to it?
I would lose my mind attempting to do that. But I say as I'm about to record another hour and a half long podcast.
Right?
How do people do this with superhumans?
What are you talking about, Quinn? You tell stories by yourself for 2 hours every week.
Oh, it's never been here. It's just me running to another camera real quick. That's right. Now let's talk about this thing.
Oh, the best possible use of instant transmission, right? So Urara asks Akane if she has any questions after the performance is done. And Akane says, yeah, could you judge me just doing the first interaction between the man and the Oiran? And Mayura starts to like say, like, hold on, what are you doing? But Urara says, oh, don't stop there. I'll judge your entire performance. Do it from the start. Go ahead. So Akane does it, and she just kind of thinks about how, like, I've kind of always been good at this, just kind of like, watching someone perform and just picking up on it. And it gives there 15 more minutes go by, which I guess if you time it out, I guess Urara spends actually like, hang on, so it's 14. I mean, I guess we don't know how long Urara spends actually giving the backstory of the story before getting to the performance, but it does kind of seem like Akane spends less time on the performance than she does, because it's only about 15 more minutes before hers finishes.
Well, she's not completely finished. She gets interrupted mid-story.
Okay.
So I don't think it's supposed to be that she does the whole thing. She just, like, eventually Urara says, that's enough.
Yeah.
I got what I needed.
Yeah. But Mayura is kind of blown away because Akane is like, wait a minute. So she's never used a phone for Rakugo practice sessions. Does that mean she can just memorize a story after hearing it once? What the fuck? And Akane is like, I think I fixed all the parts that were different here in my memory, so here we go. And so she starts to go through it. But then Urara starts kind of chuckling, and she says, that's very interesting. And Akane says, well, what did you think? And Urara says, well, it wasn't bad, but it's just as I thought. The Oiran doesn't suit you at all. I think the story and the teller aren't suited for one another.
Oh, no.
Which confuses Akane more than it dismays her, because she's like, wait, but Master Urara picked this story from me, and now she's saying it's just as I thought. So, wait, what? And Urara looks at her with this kind of mischievous look on her face, and she just says, oh, so what now? And that's it.
Gotta say, so, what is Akane gonna do, Nick? Maybe she kills Urara and wears her skin and performs as her.
I am her!
That's my prediction, but I think you've got a better one.
My prediction is that won't happen.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, we did make a pizza bet ahead of time, but
that's a good point.
Well, it's a shame. Yeah, but good chapter.
Always got to read the fine print. Yeah, it's intriguing. I want to see exactly what's going on. I mean, you get the impression that Urara is trying to test Akane in some way. Therefore, she's more deliberately laying a challenge out for her than she is specifically trying to nicely coach her. But exactly what she's doing is unclear so far. All right, let's move on to Blue Box.
Yeah, Blue Box. That's not the theme song for it, but if it needed a little one. I was stunned to find out recently Pusha T is the one who did the McDonald's theme song. The ba-da-ba-ba-ba. And I was like, I just don't believe that. Like, that song's been going on for like 30 years, but apparently it's true.
I've heard the name Pusha T before. I've heard it before.
I was like, did I ask too nerdy of a person about this?
You asked too not hip-hop of a person.
Okay.
Like, that's the problem.
That's true. If I had given you a fun fact about Ailstorm, you'd have been like, fuck yeah, this rules. This is the coolest. I'm like, Nick, Ailstorm came up with the McDonald's jingle. You're like, that seems really out of character for them, but fuck yeah.
Fuck!
Sail Yoshi.
Now I see it.
You know what? I haven't been listening to it that closely all these years. Now that you say it again, it sounds a lot. It makes a lot more sense.
Oh god. All right, Blue Box, chapter number 83, Deja Vu. So Taiki and Chinatsu have fucking ditched dickhead basketball dude who rudely interrupted their not quite a date. And they're on the train together, and they're just talking about how they got to go to see that cafe. And it's like, oh, that apple pie was really good. And they're like, yeah, well, time really flew by today. But Taiki realizes that they're approaching a certain station, and he's like, hey, do you mind if we keep hanging out for a little bit longer? I want to show you something. And he wants to take her to a place, and once he leads her to it, it's just kind of this viewing area that has a beautiful view of the city. And she's, initially stunned by it. And saying, oh man, this is beautiful. It feels like time's passing so slowly. And Taiki's, of course, just looking at Chinatsu going, I wish time would stop. I don't want this moment to ever end. But as they're there kind of looking over things, Taiki looks around and kind of realizes, like, there's a lot of couples here. This is a super romantic spot.
I may have misjudged this.
Maybe this wasn't quite so much a casual guy and girl date as I thought. But Chinatsu doesn't seem to notice any of this. She looks at Taiki and is like, actually, I'm kind of surprised that, you would know about a place like this. Sorry if that sounds rude. And Taiki just thinks to himself, like, I started researching places that we could go to so hard when I knew that we were going to go out.
Well, he doesn't say that. He thinks that.
Yeah, he thinks that. Yeah,
and she just continues her line.
Yeah, she's like, oh, have you been here with someone else before? No one.
I never heard this. I didn't kiss her. Pushes her off the side and runs. You're like, Taiki, my guy, you need to really work on your panic when someone confronts you about anything.
But Chinatsu says, yeah, it's my first time being here too. And, up until now, I always thought that just hanging out like this was kind of like slacking off. And then Taiki just kind of has this, like, oh, look to him. So we pick up with the conversation that was at the very end of the previous chapter that Nagisa was having with her classmates about Yumeka, who was her and Chinatsu's teammate. And she says, yeah, so if you weren't at AMA until high school, you wouldn't know her. Yumeka had this absurd practice regimen, and her attitude was fucking awful. But she was also insanely brilliant at basketball. She was our MVP in junior high, and Chinatsu in particular was super, super tight with her. They were perfectly in sync. They were in Pee-wee basketball together. They were always together. But then all of a sudden, she just quit basketball when she got to high school. And without telling anybody about it, she just left the school. She gave up basketball. Chinatsu sneezes because someone's talking about her. And Taiki immediately is like, oh man, you can't catch a cold. Are you okay? Oh, put this over your shoulders. And it's like, oh yeah, they just bought a jersey for him. So he's like, it's fresh, so you could use it as a windbreaker. And and I've got heat packs. My mom made sure to pack them. And Chinatsu just kind of smiles at him.
She's put on the jacket already.
She's put it on. Yeah. She's warm and cozy and stuff. And Taiki's like, why are you smiling at me? And she says, I'm just having deja vu. Because, like, way back in the first chapter, like, the same thing happened between them. Where he was concerned about her health. And he's like, oh, here, wear this. And he just, Taiki's now self-conscious about that. Like, oh, you must have been like creeped out. Just some stranger, some younger guy just offering you stuff and making you wear his scarf. And Jinatsu says, like, I mean, I was shocked. Yes, that was surprising. But I didn't think you were a creep. And because even though we had never spoken, I still saw you every day. So I knew you were honest and diligent. And I figured you must be an upstanding guy.
I like that the scenic breeze passes by at that exact moment for her as well.
Yeah.
She's standing in front of glass, Nick. Where did that wind come from is my question.
She's magic, okay? And so she's, holding the jacket around herself. She looks at Taiki and she says, next time, what will you have for me? Which has got to be like, Taiki must be like, oh my god, this is the greatest moment of my life.
Till he gets home and he's like, fuck, what do I get her next time?
What do I do?
Put on my pants! Put them on! Wear my shoes!
Wear my nose ring!
Just rips it out of his face. The extra cartilage will keep you warm!
But they're just kind of quiet between each other for a minute. And Taiki says, I don't have anything I can give you, but there is something I want to tell you, Chinatsu-senpai. What is he gonna say? Oh, someone's here. It's a long-haired girl holding hands with a guy with glasses, and she says,
yeah,
Natsu.
dude, the lead character for Persona 5. That's Joker.
Yeah, if you say so.
Sure.
And Chinatsu recognized her immediately. It's Yumeka, who we have very, very rapidly developed, like, oh, who is this person? Here's who it is and stuff. But here she is now. And Taiki either recognizes her or recognizes the name that Chinatsu says. But before he can really think about it, Yumeka approaches the two of them and says, oh, so little Natsu got herself a boyfriend. And Taiki's like, I'm not her boyfriend. It's like, huh? Wait. Wow, you're the girl who never cared about anything but basketball? You actually found love. Guess that means you gave up on dominating the basketball world.
Ooh.
And she has this, like, mocking smile on her face that's very off-putting.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely gives off strong, like, wild bitch energy. I don't know better.
Yeah.
There's a better way I could probably phrase it than calling a child a bitch, but I don't know. She just has, like, I'm here to stir shit and enjoy every fucking second of it energy right now.
Yeah. Chinatsu just looks shocked. That's kind of it. So that's our chapter. Things are gonna get stirred up, definitely, interrupting our very heartwarming little date that our heroes were going on. But it might be interesting to see this idea of, like, personal attachment versus, personal accomplishment. What kind of compromises and inabilities to compromise go along with those two conflicting ideas. Can you dedicate yourself to an activity while also dedicating yourself to a person? That seems to be the big idea that's been being built up recently.
Indeed. All right, Nick. Morg.
So, the Cassette Quartet, Chapter 6 of Cipher Academy, Cipher Soldiers value being rough and ready. What is this? So the teacher gives them a puzzle, which is the word question written backwards and very strangely. And so Iroha can't figure it out to begin with. He can tell, like, wait, is that looks like an EUQ, so she said Noitsuk, so is that a palindrome that means question? And then Toshisai says, well, it read backwards, the word is question, which is very obvious, by the way.
I was gonna say, she says it a lot more condescendingly, which is read backwards, it is question. Even a complete idiot could see that. And
right.
I just need her. I need to find out she has like a dragon thing or something like that to complete the full Seto Kaiba like resurrection of this character.
Oh, well, now we know what the voice for her. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. So, well, we also find out that there is like a canonization of something that happened in the last chapter that she said, which is that
sorry, just for when we do WMR lives Cipher Academy every chapter.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, yeah, she points out that like, so the idea is that since you're kind of led to read the word backwards, then you kind of think about reorienting the word in different ways. So then if instead of reading it horizontally, you read it vertically, then it spells out answer instead of question.
This must have been such hell to create and like work and draw.
Absolutely.
Oh my god. We have not really like fully talked about the fact that Kogane, I think is her name, just like now has like, or Kogoi, just has like a little fucking segment. I think we mentioned it before. But
yeah,
we like really
briefly
delved into the fact that like on every page, Kogoi is just
There's
like,
a lot of them.
Calligraphy is really like the manga just kind of starts to talk about itself. But it still does it in character, but it'll be like, this puzzle was really hard. I'm pretty happy and accomplished about it. And it's like, I do kind of love the idea that this manga has a character just like, dude, this manga rules. It's so hard to do everything, and I'm so cool for doing it.
Oh, so as a step up from this, the instructor has lifted up the puzzle and then says, all right, Toshisai, using the same method, can you solve it just as quickly, even if it's in pieces like this? And she dumps the platform that the word is on, and it collapses into jigsaw pieces. And Toshisai looks at it as like, well, no, it's not possible to solve the puzzle while it's in this form, because you need to put the puzzle together first and then solve the code. And the instructor's like, well, yeah, that is the case, but that's also what codes are. If you can't scrape together fragmentary information and put it together into a code you can solve, then you'll be useless on the front line. Which is like probably the most actual code breaky thing that is piece of information that has been in this manga so far. Just like sometimes you don't have a nice clean thing where all the information is presented to you. Sometimes you need to pick up scraps and then figure it out that way. It's like, yes, that is what you have to do in order to figure out codes and stuff in the real world. It's not a games magazine thing.
I was going to say, you mean codes aren't usually handed to you on worksheets that are like, can you solve it?
Yeah.
All the Morgs rely on this.
So the instructor says, each of you is going to have a jigsaw puzzle, and each one is different. They all have a plain black background to try your best to solve it if you could put the puzzle together. So they're like, okay, so we have to put the jigsaw together and that's it. So maybe we don't need to work in pairs then. And she said, no. Now you have a quartet to work with. And she just dumps another jigsaw on top of the previous jigsaw. And she's like, yeah, 2 jigsaws all mixed up. Now it's a team task, right? And
that's not how you mix up puzzle pieces, by the way.
Right?
Hey, come on. All the first ones are going to be at the bottom. Duh.
So some of the students start to react to this, and Iroha and some of the others are realizing, like, oh man, like this doesn't just like arithmetically make it more difficult. It's like exponentially more difficult because they're being mixed up this way. But the creepy
the warlock person. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but that character definitely plays a warlock when they play.
Yeah. She points out, like, hey, so one of our teams has 3 people in it. Don't they have an unfair advantage? And so the instructor's like, huh, yeah, okay. Let's give him a 3rd jigsaw puzzle. Just dumps another one on there. So was like, what? No! It's bullshit!
I just love the daggers stolen. I don't remember this character's name, so I'm just going to call her Kaiba. That Kaiba is just like, you fucking bleeding heart piece of shit.
So everyone puts their desks together in order to start working on their puzzles. And Iroha is like hovering around Toshusai's side. It's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She's like, just shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up.
I love it. I love it. Silence. Like, oh, but it's because we please be quiet. Oh, but I made the shut up. I can't stand you.
So she looks at Iroha and is like, do you want to be told I'll kick your butt so hard that your back teeth will rattle? Which is like, all right.
Excuse
and
me?
She's given a little extra introductory panel. Catchphrase. Frequent use of slang involving the buttocks.
I mean, she did say kiss my ass and I'm going to kick you in the butt. So maybe she does just have like a butt thing for her quotes.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it makes her more colorful.
I like the idea she finishes the puzzle. She's like, butt-tastic! she's like, I gotta keep to my gimmick, you know? I can't break kayfabe.
So, the kind of gloomy girl raises her hand while Toshusai is like, God damn it, I thought this was gonna be easy. This sucks. But the gloomy look girl says, "Hey, should I just quit? I didn't really ask to be included in the group, and maybe it just wasn't meant to be." And Toshusai starts to be like, "Fine, if you want to just like step out and get out of here." But Iroha's like, "No, you can't quit. Like you're on the team because I wanted you to be on the team. So no, don't leave. You can't leave. Don't. We'll get through this. Thanks to Toshusai-san." And Toshusai says, "What the." Me? Come on. You talk a big game and then leave to me. Fuck you. But she admits to herself privately, like, if I want to be the leading private of the class, then it's not going to look good if I just abandon one of my classmates and cast her off. So, and that also includes this asshole, too. So she's kind of stuck in this situation. But after Iroha's pep talk, the gloomy-looking girl rolls up her sleeves and is like, all right, get behind me and get out of the way. And Toshusai starts to step forward to her and say, hey, you can't just like take over the team. And Iroha reaches out to stop her, but it does so in a kind of like very hesitant way, which is by grabbing her coat sleeve, which is also like meet cutie, which is again not like there's continuing tropes of these two being pushed as a romantic couple, which shonen manga gonna shonen manga. But she says, hey, I think this is actually going to be fine, because you might have heard it before, like Kasuri didn't actually even lift her pencil during the preliminary task. So what are we going to do? Iroha says, I think that instead of trying to solve the puzzle or not thinking that she could solve the puzzle, she had actually already solved it. Because what I saw on her desk wasn't a pencil, but the completed answer sheet. And how did no one notice this?
This entire sequence is really magical. Because we had to be like, well, I mean, come on, this is shonen manga. We need different gimmicks for our characters. Like, yeah, but everyone here solves puzzles. Like, what if they had puzzle solving gimmicks?
Yes! Puzzle solving gimmicks!
You're like, but this character seems like she's so lazy. What's her puzzle solving gimmick?
She moves fast. Kasuri fucking moves really quickly. Her arms start snapping out, and she has a technique called 3-armed sloth starter, which is really silly. And everyone in the class is just looking over like, what the fuck? She's moving really quickly. And Iroha is thinking to himself like, yeah, Toshusai thinks really quickly, but Kasuri-san moves faster. And for this kind of task, we need someone who moves really quickly in order to actually put the puzzle together so then we can solve that puzzle. And compounding this, the instructor thinks to herself, Iroha Zaka chose this girl without any hesitation. So Toshusai thinks quickly, Kasuri moves quickly, and Iroha Zaka decides quickly. Which, I mean, we have seen that demonstrated that Iroha has just good instincts, even if he's not a very good logical puzzle solver yet. Kasuri completes the jigsaw puzzles, 3 of them, that seemingly have identical pieces, I will point out. So that's kind of crazy. And then she kind of collapses, and Iroha catches her, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I got carried away, and I tend to be kind of gloomy and weak, so I'm not really suited to being the leading private. So I thought I would just, withdraw and not try. But you decided to, ask me to do this. So a meeting by chance is preordained, as they say." And I like that we have the catchphrase added in there, "a meeting by chance is preordained," as they say, because that was not really applicable to the conversation and the speech that she was giving. So I'll excuse it if it was just her little characteristic that she says sometimes.
And then Seto Kaiba is like, "Your butt's cool." That's how I say nice to meet you.
We are presented with more of the Nyotsukyus, but this time, instead of being a single word, they're like word searchy, and also they have characters that are neither numbers nor hiragana nor letters. Some of them look just like freaking emojis.
So this is an important question, Nick. How many have you solved already?
None.
Oh, none. What? You're the smart one on the show, Nick.
What am I gonna do, dude?
Put on your fucking magic puzzle-solving glasses and finish this.
Okay, I'll figure it out. I'll see if there's something if there is an actual thing that I can like find by staring at this enough. I'll see if there's like a modicum of one puzzle that I can find, because I don't think that there is.
I'll be curious.
So we get 3 different puzzles, one for each of the students, and they're all staring at them. And it's like, okay, we've got 3 different ciphertexts. Now nothing's mixed up. We get one each to solve. It seems like we'll have a fair battle. But big twist, as Warlock Girl and Gyaru Girl are working together. Warlock Girl pulls out a pair of star-shaped sunglasses and says, "Yes, I am your glasses holder, Oborochi. Ice cold reading."
Nick,
she's got her puzzle-solving glasses too.
There's an evil puzzle-solving glasses user. Not since an evil 100 things I want to do before I die in the zombie apocalypse user have I been so blindsided by an evil mirror to our lead character's Bane gimmick.
I loved this chapter.
It's so wonderfully bizarre in so many ways. I truly I love this series because even if I don't get what's happening, I just love how it's executing everything. This is slowly turning from an ironic love to thank God you're in my life.
Yeah, if this lasts long enough, we're gonna have another Seventh Samurai kind of situation, or what is it? Samurai 8, that's what it was called. Where it's just like, look, this is terrible, but I need it in my life. Don't let it end.
Inject these morgs into my veins. Yeah, that's great. All right, let's talk about Ginka and Luna, Nick.
Ginka and Luna, Chapter 16, Ginka versus Scheherazade.
Bless you.
Ginka versus Scheherazade. Ginka has arrived to save the day. He's squaring off against Scheherazade. A bunch of librarians come towards the ruckus finally and show up and are like, "Hey, quit making all this noise.
What's going on?
What's going on here? Master Scheherazade, what's going here?" He just turns them into balls. Screaming balls with fuses coming out of their mouths.
They really waste no time just being like, "Man, I hate Master Scheherazade. She sucks." Anytime I see her, she's turning people into bombs. Dude, I hate working here. Legit.
Sucks. Oh, man. Dave owed me $20, but then he got turned into a bomb. Come on.
No, my only comfort is I owe Ralph $20 and he's never going to see it again.
Oh, man. So Ginka immediately snaps into action, diffuses the bomb people with his limbs, and Scheherazade starts saying, "It's like, come on, why are you even bothering to save them? They're just garbage factories converting food into excrement," which is gross, but an accurate way of, assessing biological, entities, I suppose. And she says, like, look, I kind of figured that at one point we could understand one another, but if you're going to ally yourself with garbage, then that garbage is all you are. And then she cuts him into pieces, but he's a snowman, so he's fine. But Sherazade, seems to realize this. She says that even if an enemy survives, being turned into a bomb, I can see her future. She's just going to be worthless, even if she is a magician. But if you just let her explode, then we would have at least gotten something interesting out of her. And Ginka fires back with, "You haven't changed. You're the same as ever." And as he's saying this, each of the parts that he's been cut into has a face, and they're all Kage Bunshin-ing attacking her with punches and dive attacks and stuff.
Yes.
And Scheherazade gets knocked backwards. She manages to dispel at least one of the Ginka clones, possibly more. Because even though Ginka is able to lay in some hits, her eye is giving her, powerful foresight and stuff. So she is really difficult to touch. Someone with the foresight eye ability, finding someone who can summon clones. Where have I seen this before?
Press Prince, I believe.
Yes.
Bel-Air, yeah.
Yes.
One episode where
season 6 got weird.
They were running out of ideas after a while.
Man, I couldn't believe it when Carlton finally unlocked the Mangekyo Sharingan.
Dude, I thought the season where they gave them all superpowers was weird, but it ended up being pretty good episodes, towards the end.
Yeah.
Once the writers figured out what to do.
So
I'm just imagining Uncle Phil rolling up his sleeve and having like 17 Sharingan eyes embedded in his arm. He's like, "What were you saying, Will?"
Oh God. So Scheherazade says, like, "Oh, if you're," I keep on knocking my headphones out. She says, "Look,
that's a weird thing for her to say."
God damn it. She kind of mocks Ginka over his appearance, and Ginka says, "Yeah, so I guess it's not how you expected me to look, is it? Hey, you didn't see that coming, did you, Ms. Foresight? Fuck
Boom.
you." Yeah, got her. He dashes towards her, and Scheherazade's like, "Oh, come on, you're hardly moving on. I can easily see you." But Ginka says, as like weird shapes sprout out of his horns that look like his head, "Look, just because someone isn't good enough today doesn't mean that they won't have changed by tomorrow." And he is thinking about his good student Luna and how hard she worked in order to be an actual mage while he watched over her training. And meanwhile, his body is changing. And he says, "As for me, I've seen it time and time again." And Scheherazade realizes, wait, Ginka's body is constantly being broken down and then being reborn. And Ginka dashes around her, laying in attacks from all sides. And he says, "If you don't fear changing yourself, then magic is infinitely flexible. You can do anything you want it to do." And Scheherazade gets a flashback. She thinks about the first time that we met Ginka, and we don't get a good look at him at all. He's not only shoved around the corner, but there's like a candle in the foreground cutting him off, and then also incense in the foreground who's hiding. Like the 3 layers of like, no, you can't see him.
You can't see his character's face yet. We don't want you to see it yet.
Also, there's just randomly this giant dude hanging out with Scheherazade. Just his head is
dude,
that's
that's Jeff.
Yeah.
Dude, Jeff rules, dude. I know Scheherazade kind of sucks, but Jeff works. Like, Jeff's worth that relationship.
And Scheherazade thinks about, the first time that they met, and thinks to herself, is it because he was just the first other genius of my caliber that I met? Yeah, that's probably it. Like, my genius alone is enough for this world. Although I suspected a day would come when he would stand in my way, and that day did come. And we see the aftermath of a battle between the two of them, where Ginka, who's looking kind of demonic in silhouette in this one shot, says, "Yeah, I kind of wondered what you've been up to." Seemingly discovered her experimentations and stuff too late to help out Anemone, which gives us a bit of a timescale of stuff that happened, and possibly also indicates that Scheherazade. Actually, it probably more indicates that Scheherazade conducted multiple rounds of experiments and just got stopped one time by Ginka. This also is the thing that caused her to lose her eye, which is why she's got the eye patch now. And so Ginka's like, this is your weakness. You've already convinced yourself that you're the best, so now you can no longer surpass yourself. And that's why this time I won, because I kept on growing. And Scheherazade admits, like, yeah, I do love myself. I was fond of my left eye. I'll never forgive him for taking it. So then she turns into a thing. It's a scary thing with a brain for a butt.
She went Eldritch Horror, which is fine. Sometimes you gotta girl boss it and just fucking just go straight Lovecraft. It's fine.
And she says, like, look, if you're gonna glorify slow and steady progress, then a mistake gets born into the world. Whereas every mistake I behold, I rearrange and recompose. And she starts to change the building around her, so it's just made of corpses and stuff. But as she does this, another Ginka split off, grabs her braid from behind and holds her in place, and she realizes, like, he didn't get split into 3 when I carved him up before. He actually spread out a 4th version when I wasn't looking. She gets punched up into the air. She recovers and summons a giant fuck off needle thing. And she says, like, look, the gods are lazy because there are too many errors in this world, so I'll become a god and correct them. So, she feels pretty good about herself. She's got a healthy ego. And Ginka keeps on berating her. He starts to look badass, and then his body gets blown the fuck apart by the needle. And Shahrazade's like, this is over. I've seen through everything. And the building is falling apart around them. Remember, they're in a planetoid right now. A crack opens up, and Ginka's body seems to fly out of it. Scheherazade lands on the edge of the giant thing that she is just broken apart. And then Ginka appears behind her and cuts through her body with his slashy arm, cuts her arm off to take away her wand. And Ginka again is like, did you see that coming?
There was another one of me.
Yep. And Scheherazade realizes, like, oh, he split himself into 5 copies, not 4. But I do like how Ginka follows up on this, because he says, like, how do you know it wasn't 6 or 100? You need to doubt yourself more. Scheherazade immediately, like, summons spider thread and stitches her body parts back together in an instant because magic! Woo! But she admits herself, like, shit, I'm really weakened now. I need to get back to Sagittarius and recharge. And she slips on some ice and falls to her knees because while she and Ginka were fighting, Anemone and Glüna set up a trap for her, and she falls prone directly at Anemone's feet. And that seems to be the end of the fight.
There you go.
Nice. It's a very exciting chapter. A lot of cool stuff happened, and there were some cool visuals.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give props to the way it ends with her bowing now in front of
Anemone.
Yeah, that's her name. It's a cool moment. Yeah, definitely. I like the construction of it.
Yep, and it seems like we'll get a bit of closure for Anemone with this upcoming confrontation.
Indeed we will. But now, Nick, it is time. Like a little wipe he did. Nick, I just want to state for a record what this all is. Previously, like last month, we set up a bet. 1 minute for Nick to guess a wrestler. If he got more right than wrong, he won a free pizza. But if he got more wrong than right, our audience got to pick our next recommendation. Now, that pick is, at the time of this, locked in. I've seen the results. There is a winner. But it all comes down to this. Nick, for all the Morgs, can you guess this wrestler?
Well, golly gee, Quinn, I sure hope so.
All right. Nick, are you ready? I have the wrestler.
Ready.
All right. And go.
Are they an active wrestler?
No.
Male.
Yes.
Have they wrestled in WWE?
Yes.
Did they wrestle in WWE during the Attitude Era?
No.
No. Did they start wrestling in WWE in the 2000s?
Yes.
Okay, in the 2000s. They're no longer active. Were they wrestling in the 2010s?
No.
Okay. Have they won a... Oh, man. That's a very narrow window. Were they wrestling somewhere before WWE?
Not really, no.
Wow. That's a very narrow window. Okay. Did they win a tag team championship?
Yes.
World championship?
No.
Any singles championship?
Nope.
All right. Were they part of Team Angle?
They were not a part of Team Angle.
Okay. Did they team up with a future world champion?
No.
No.
All right, Nick, that is it. It comes down
God.
to your final guess here.
A tag team wrestler.
Yes.
Who was in WWE in only the 2000s.
Yes.
But did win a tag team championship.
Mm-hmm.
And they're no longer active.
No longer an active wrestler. I will say to give one piece of context, when you said did they wrestle after 2010, they did technically wrestle, just not in any major promotion.
Okay. All right. I think I might... Okay, I definitely have an idea. The problem is that there were so many terrible tag team champions in the 2000s. Never teamed with a future world champion, but they did. My thoughts keep on being drawn to Eugene. I think that's who I gotta go with.
Gotta go with Eugene? Lock it in. I need you to hold your hand out like you're putting a key in the ignition and turn it as you lock that answer in.
Okay, well, one last clarification. This is a single member of a tag team.
Yeah, this is not a group. This is a single wrestler.
Okay. Tag team champion in 2000. Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
All right, give me that hand, put in that key, and turn it. Nick, I am sorry. It was not Eugene. We were, in fact, looking for Rosie, who tag teamed with the Hurricane before ultimately, unfortunately, passing in the late 2010s.
They were a tag team wrestler, and they did start... They did... Yeah, that all fits. Okay. I was trying to think of a way that I could be like, I don't know if that's correct.
Well, Nick, I have some good news for you.
Listen, I'll have you know that the Hurricane did win a world championship in some minor B-League promotion. So technically...
That is true. He was the AFLWC champion or something, probably. Nick, it is unfortunate you lost. However, I do have good news for you. Because you've lost, you will be reading Earthchild as your next recommendation.
What's this you? We, Quinn.
Oh, wait.
We have to do this.
Wait a minute. This isn't right. This isn't fair.
Oh, man. Rosie. God damn.
I tried to pick someone.
That's a hard one, dude.
I tried not to pick someone crazy hard, but I was like, I feel like he's going to think Hurricane. I tried to reverse engineer the Luchasaurus one that you got. I was like, because if I had been thinking of fucking Jungle Boy, then you would have never gotten it. I was like, I'm going to take the other side of the tag team that I really liked.
Oh, yeah. Well, and unfortunately, the questions I was asking eliminated Hurricane from the equation completely.
I also really expected you to ask, are they dead? Because you've done that a lot, and I've never had a dead wrestler. I was like...
I didn't think to do that.
I was like, maybe that'll give it to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, because there are a few tag team champions from that era who are sadly passed away. Yeah. Rosie, that's a hard one. Jeez. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I admit defeat. I don't feel as bad about this as I thought I would.
Oh,
So
that's good. Well, it's even better when we
just
continue this game next year, Nick, for
I
new,
guess we
crazier stakes.
yeah.
Perhaps a car will be involved.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Hang on. Let me make sure I've actually gotten this written out. I've had it in my head for a minute, but I do have a puzzle for you.
Oh, okay.
We do have to do this other thing. I kind of let us do the big thing first, and now this feels like a little bit of a letdown.
Nope, there's stakes on this too. If I get this wrong, aliens invade my house. Like, wow, these stakes really ramp up.
This is going to be worded a little bit differently. It's less riddle-y, and it's much more actually like trivia focused.
Okay. Am I still guessing a person or
you're still guessing the person, but it's much more like you would hear like an actual trivia question than like a poetry sounding thing. So here we go. Despite this paladin's early push, his predestined program with the Phenom never had a prayer.
Oh, is this Mordecai?
It's Mordecai.
Okay. I had to say,
Look,
I was like,
if you had gone for Mordecai, I would have been so upset over how obscure it was.
I tried. I have legitimately thought, I was like, I could do Paul Burchill. I was like, Paul Burchill's fucking mean. He never won anything in that company. I'd be like, unless Nick asked, were they in a program where they were dating their sister? I was like, you got it. Although that doesn't narrow down it to just one person.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that one.
That was a good one.
Good one. Yeah. All right. We move on. No pizza for Nick. All right.
Hey, you know what? Hey, spirit of giving, Nick, I'm still going to get you a pizza.
Oh, that feels cheap.
No, I'm going to get you a pizza. It's more for Nicole than you. You actually don't get to have any. Nicole was expecting a pizza. Like, you open the door, she's like, did you get the pizza? You're like, pizza? No, honey. She just throws a pan at you.
No, Quinn stumped me with Rosie's. You idiot! Why?
She's like,
you didn't think of Rosie of 3-minute warning.
She's like, we went over 3-minute warning last night. How did you not get this? I told you to study up on them.
And their long and illustrious career in WWE. Oh God. Hextuple P. Chapter 63. When I thought I'd dance in the sky. All right, Sorachika, you're a weird one. It's just Sorachika being weird for a whole chapter, talking about how he doesn't understand things and just doesn't understand his general surroundings. He flashes back to being a little kid, and even though like not even knowing their names, knowing the names of these things. And one time he just went up to the person playing piano at a fancy dinner party and just going, Santa's our parents. Yeah.
I love this shit. And like there was a moment where I was like, holy shit, kids read this manga. They're going to find it. And I was like, there is not a child alive who is still reading PPPPP. There is not a child alive young enough to believe Santa's still real that was like going to stumble upon it in this magazine. I refuse to believe it.
Yeah. So
I love this dude too. He's just like, huh? Oh, when I get home, I had to buy presents for my kid. Just like no one's like, that was a weird kid.
Yep. But he kind of understands what's going on in this guy's head because he's playing the piano and he's playing piano at a Christmas party. So he's thinking about like, oh, I got to buy gifts for the kids. It's a secret that Santa's presents come from us. Ooh. So immediately Sorchi's like, Santa's not real. He's our parents. But this was kind of a moment where he realized he could learn about things that others couldn't through sound. But then he came across all this other stuff that really confused him. Like, just being like, I wonder what this is called. And he found out, like, oh, this leaf is from a tree, but there's so many trees. It's fun to know this stuff, but no matter how much I learn, there's just so much I still don't know. And I can only learn so much while I'm alive. When I die, I'm going to be thinking about how I couldn't learn everything and how bored I am. He's 3.
He's older than that, but it is tragically young for this kid to be really dealing with the existentialism of life.
Yeah. And so, he looks down at Lucky and he starts to say, like, hey, Santa's not real. But Lucky says, what'd you ask for? And Sora Chica just says, wood and blocks. And then he goes to play the piano. It's like, Santa doesn't exist. Santa doesn't exist. And as he's playing the piano talks back to him? What? But he looks over at Lucky, who's also playing piano next to him. And he's got, thoughts in his head like, this is fun. This is soft. This is pitiful, mediocre. Oh no! The trauma has started early. He's been told that his piano playing is mediocre already.
Yeah, he's like 5 years old, and he's just already getting emotionally crushed. Yeah. This is not a good thing.
So Sora Chica looks at Lucky and says, hey, did you just say, is that so? And Lucky's like, I didn't say that. But as they're playing together, the piano starts going, hey, I heard you. And Sora Chica starts to say, I think that this is your genius, Lucky. And Lucky's like, I didn't hear anything. You're crazy. And look, I'm the mediocre one. I'm the only mediocre sibling. So I don't know what you're talking about. And then they got interrupted because I guess Reijiro came to...
Yeah, Reijiro was like, hey, Lucky, play with me.
Yeah, makes sense. So Sora Chica,
I like their doorways.
It's a fancy place.
The bricks, it's nice.
And Sora Chica is convinced, like, I thought I heard a voice, and the feelings I heard from Lucky's piano were already mysterious and fun, and I got even more interested in that voice. I played piano with Lucky and talked to the voice a lot. And then, they just talked about weird stuff like the heart moves even while we sleep. And the piano's like, interesting.
Curious.
Now, Sora Chica,
give me your parents' credit card number.
I was gonna say something eldritch, but sure.
Give me the 3 numbers on the back now.
I have a loot box to sell you. It might be really, really good, or it might be shit. But either way, you need your parents' credit card number.
Hey kid, you want Fortnite skins? What's Fortnite? Get the skins, and then I'll tell you. You could play as Rick from Rick and Morty. What's that? Just do it.
And eventually, as he was talking with the piano went sniff, and Sora Chica's like, "Are you okay? Or are you crying?" And the piano said, "I'm all right. Thank you for talking to me." And Sora Chica says, "Well, where are you?" "A place of nothingness, a dark place, a place that moves toward death. Remember when this body almost drowned in the ocean during summer break? It's just like that. Like drowning in the ocean and sinking. That's what it feels like. I wonder what happens when we die." He's like 6. Stop this. Please stop this.
So wild. Death is the ultimate unknown, so I'm scared. You're like, I am very glad children probably don't read this manga.
And then in this moment, a light of realization struck Sora Chica, and he realized, if I can understand the ultimate, then I don't need to know everything. I'm looking forward to dying!
I made a snap decision about my psyche at 6 years old and have maintained it all the way into my adulthood. And I'm proud of this fact. Like, oh no.
Oh, man, this chapter's... I don't know what this chapter is. I don't know if it's sad, but it's not pleasant.
I mean...
And it's...
I don't say... It's certainly not heartwarming, but it is introspective into what makes Sora Chica the way he is, which, like, I think does a lot to, like, expand his philosophy in the world. It's just a heavy philosophy we will have to deal with.
Oh man.
Yeah. And also, I think there was a part of me too that's not sure if it's. I didn't read it as the piano that's talking. I read it as
it's Inner Lucky.
Yeah, that thing. So I believe that's also explaining why he has such like a curious obsession with Lucky and letting out Venom Lucky or whatever we're calling him.
Morb Lucky.
Morb Lucky. It's morbing out.
I know nothing about that movie except that it has Jared Leto in it. There are memes about it, and it's about Morbius, the Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
Well, in theory, it's about him.
Well, Nick, prepare yourself because next year we get Kraven. The other gotta crave more Kraven.
I forgot that was going to happen.
Yeah.
God, like just because Venom was popular doesn't mean everything's gonna be, guys.
Hey, and they're doing the Spider Weaver movie, or not Spider Weaver,
Madam Web.
Yeah, Madam Web movie.
Like, I don't know if every character in the Spider-Man mythos needs their own movie.
Nope, Uncle Ben movie. It's gonna show him, I don't know, working at like a sandwich shop or something.
Well,
like
that. I mean, there is apparently an Alfred Pennyworth series that has been going for several seasons now. So I guess that
you could do anybody if they're popular.
Yeah.
If the base superhero they're based on is popular enough, there's no one out there who's just like, you know, fucking give me a Yellow Jacket series. Like, where's my Larceny Beetle exclusive series? Like Ant-Man doesn't have that clout to carry his whole, like, fucking rogues gallery up with him. But Spider-Man, he could do it.
I admittedly would probably actually take a Sandman kind of thing, because Sandman's actually, like, got some, complex characterization. He's not just, a vampire. So
yeah. Well, Nick, I'm gonna name off some Spider-Man villains. You tell me if you'd be excited to watch a show about them.
Lightning round. Here we go. A show specifically, a TV show.
Yeah, we'll say TV show. Okay. 2 seasons minimum. Green Goblin.
Sure.
Absolutely, right? Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, okay.
Vulture.
Probably not.
Scorpion.
No.
Apparently someone just called Kangaroo.
Yes, so Kangaroo is a member of the Legion of Losers, just one of the joke villains in Spider-Man's repertoire. Maybe if you did a show about, like, all of his loser villains and did a comedy, maybe that could work. Kangaroo himself, no.
Tombstone.
Forgot about him. We're not gonna top that. Moving on. Tombstone. Oh, Mashle! Magic and muscles.
Hey, bud. Yeah, sorry. Mashle. I got a cat who is very interested in what's going on right now. Yeah. This is Mashle, chapter 138, Mash Burn Dead, and the Magic of Mirrors. He's doing big stretches.
Magic of Mirrors.
Magic of Mirrors. So we have Doom, who's like, yeah, you suck, and then Mash was like, hey, stop putting your weird expectations on me. Like, that's very uncool.
I'm not your girlfriend.
Yeah. So they start getting into a sword fight, and some back and forth is kind of going on. He's like, I'm not even using my full power. The chasm between us should be clear. And Mash is like, drops his weights, giant big explosion thing. He goes into his extra mode. And then he has like a big container and he's pulling some stuff out of it. And Doom's like, what is that? And he's like, creatine. And he goes on to explain what creatine is. He's like, are you doping? He's like, no, it's a supplement. How dare you? Goes in. Doom is so fast now he can create like 2 versions of himself. But Mash sees where it's going and he moves. He opens his mouth. It's clear he's going to try to grab it with his teeth. So Doom just pulls the blade up just a little bit. And instead, it's going to gouge Mash's eyes out. Everyone's like, what's going on? And they're like, wait, has anyone else noticed that the blade isn't moving? And it's stuck right in front of Mash. And they're like, holy shit. Is he using his eyelids to block the blade of the strongest magic user around? Doom is just like, unbelievable. I shall force my blade through. How strong are his eyelids? I can't even get an inch on him. What power lurks in those ocular muscles? Mash like separates the distance before him. He's like, "You fool! Did you forget your previous attacks had nothing against me? Not even the strongest spear in the world can pierce me when I'm at 90% power. God, all you like, but you cannot harm me. Victory will never be yours." And then Mash just slams him with an elbow. And Mash's like, "Did you know the elbow is the hardest, sharpest part of the body?" And Mash is just, or Finn's just like, "None of this even makes the slightest bit of sense. What's happening?" And Mash is like, "And my elbow hurts more than the strongest spear," and just starts slamming him with his elbows over and over. But finally, Doom's like, "You're tough. I had honestly begun to worry that no one in my life would allow me to release my strength full on. Thank you, 100%. And what we see in this 2-page spread can't even be described as a person. It's just sort of like a mass of tendrils or muscles, maybe like a creepy tree of muscles. I don't really know. And everyone's like, "Holy shit, holy shit." And except for Mash, it's like, "I got sand in my eyes. I can't see." And that's the chapter. So now both of them are blind.
Yeah, assuming it's a tree of muscles, does that mean it's the tree of might?
It could be.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Magic the Gathering has needed a red tree for the longest time, so it could be that. There's the tree of perdition and all that sort of stuff, so it makes sense.
I didn't really care for this chapter all that much, honestly. I don't know. I think that the joke of like, oh, Mash is so strong that his eyelids are super strong. It's like, yeah, it's different. I didn't really think it was very funny. So it's just So
I did find the creatine part funny, where he's like, "It's not dopamine, it's a supplement." Don't use creatine, kids, or don't use it unless you really do research into it, because that can be an addiction. All right, let's carry on our wayward sons.
So last time, the Elusive Samurai, which is now Chapter 92, Scolding 1335, established, oh man, Tadayoshi is this amazing politician and sees the big picture and everything. Shit at warfare, though. And everyone in the freaking unit is talking about that as they're making their way towards Kamakura. And they're like, oh, but like, their defenses are such that even a clueless general could withstand a siege. So we might be in trouble here. And then they meet Tadayoshi well outside of Kamakura. And they're like, why would he leave Kamakura to defend at this tiny river? Maybe he's just an idiot at warfare. But Tokiyuki has a flashback to when, the Ashikagas were servants of his father, and how he would have his, chasing competitions with Takauji. And during one of them, Tadayoshi showed up and to, say like, hey, our master is waiting you at the mansion. And so he's just kind of impressed upon him, like, it was like his duty, and he had to, do serious business stuff. And Tokiyuki, even as a kid, while looking at Tadayoshi, thought to himself, he is courteous, but his eyes are cold. I never knew what he was thinking. And so Tadayoshi just rides out by himself, kind of under a banner of peace type of deal. So he just rides out to address them, and everyone's like, what the fuck? He's just going out to meet us. And he rides straight up to Tokiyuki. And Genba says, shouldn't we capture him? And they're like, no, their commander boldly rode forth, so we can only stand in admiration. And I guess that's it. I mean, it's just I think it's just like not considered.
Old-timey rules, Nick. You can't fight them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's the fact that it's like, no, look at what a man he is, riding out like an idiot. It's like, no, it's like courtesy and stuff and whatever. But so Tadayoshi addresses Tokiyuki, and he says, I talks about just kind of stuff, and he says, you've awakened and cultivated them into Yoroshiga talks about like, oh, I saw the people you awakened into powerful warriors and stuff. And then Tadayoshi says, "Oh, well, thank you. But I'm unskilled in military conflict, so I must rely on my glib tongue for negotiation." And so Kojiro says, "Yeah, you should have waited Kamakura." And Yorishige says, "No, the guy the narrative said was an idiot is actually a strategic genius! Because, you see, the defenses of Kamakura did fall, and Tadayoshi realized that, and realized his defenses were useless, and was the first person to realize that. So he's not entirely unskilled. So, all right, nice to establish that and then immediately reverse it in a way that's not really all that satisfying to have reversed, but okay." But then Tadayoshi just looks at Tokiyuki and says, "You need to surrender. I will intervene with the Mikado and spare your life. And Yorishige, you should return to Shinano and issue an apology, and I'll ask for leniency for you." And Tokiyuki, of course, gets really pissed off, saying, like, "You think we're going to surrender now? My clan is dead because of your rebellion. There is war because of your actions. I trusted the Ashikaga, and you betrayed me." And this is clearly played right into Tadayoshi's hands, because he says, "Oh, I see. Then take responsibility for trusting me by paying for it." And he just verbally goes on about just cutting Tokiyuki down, saying, "Look, the betrayal and deaths that resulted from it are your responsibility. To trust is a sublime but burdensome gambit. And you go to war for personal reasons, which is typical of you Hojo, who prioritized your own concerns over reason. Because of your self-serving rule, you have lost the respect of all the warriors in the land." And he just does all this in front of all of Tokiyuki's troops. And Yorishige realizes that if you kind of watch the conversation from a distance, it really looks like there's an adult just chastising a naughty child. And it's really, really bad for them. Tokiyuki realizes this, too late, but he realizes, look, if I lose this verbal confrontation, I'm going to lose this battle. Meanwhile, the Ashikaga forces are also sneaking through bushes in order to do some stuff. You okay there, Quinn?
Professor Pants is being cute, but now he's being fighty.
You trusted him, and you will pay for that betrayal.
He's really in the biting kind of mood right
now. So it turns out that this whole thing is twofold. It's not just so that Tadayoshi can, embarrass Tokiyuki in front of his forces. It's so that he can buy time for them to sneak up close and do a sneak thing. So Tokiyuki regains himself and he says, "Takauji often praised you, his younger brother, and laughed when you were around him, and I envied how close you were. So now you know how I feel, having lost my brother too." And so he just, points at Tadayoshi, accusing him, and says, "Tell me what is so righteous about your cause." Which is, compared to all the stuff that Tadayoshi said to him, not nearly so impressive, but he's not completely backing down, and that's the point. So presumably there will be more of a rebuttal from Tokiyuki to come.
Yeah. I like that, the way of, framing it. It's a child being scolded by an adult, and, they're like, shit, this cannot be the way this interaction goes down, because it will demoralize this entire army if that's the way this interaction goes down.
Everyone would say, what the fuck am I doing following this naughty kid into battle? This is pointless and stupid.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'm freed from the cat for the moment, so I will be able to focus a little bit more when I talk about Black Clover, page 346, 5 Zetten. So a bunch of the local townspeople are watching this big fight happen from afar. They can see the 5-headed dragon, and they're like, "This is terrifying, the legends are true. But hey, we wouldn't have survived if we hadn't been evacuated by the Shogun's orders, so what are they gonna do?" And we see an old man who's like, "The Shogun and the Ryuzen 7, they'll handle it somehow." And we cut over to the Ryuzen 7 who are having their fight, and Achika being like, "You're going in too far without a plan, Keizokaku," to dodge basically one of the attacks. And we have Sister who's like, oh, what incredible magic, but are you sure you should be fighting me, though? And we see the destruction that's being leveled by this big dragon. And it's like, yeah, you gotta do something against this dragon. And we cut to a flashback as Ichika is like, no, it won't. We have an all-sea lord on our side. And we cut to when the master was like, hey, we're about to be under attack. And we're going to be fighting 3 of Master Luscious's henchmen. They're called paladins, though. One's a water space Yujutsu user. One's an ice Yujutsu user. And the last one has magic that can control magical creatures. And they're going to release the 5-headed dragon. They're like, all right, well, let's go settle this now. And it's like, I do kind of like it. We just get Ryuzen, who's just like, nah, we got to save people first. Wait, Ryuzen's not his name, is it?
Ryuya,
sorry. Ryuya's like, nah, we gotta save people first. If we fight them without laying any groundwork, no matter what we do, there's gonna be victims. And these people can even raise the dead, so we might just end up creating more paladins for them in the process. What we should be thinking about are the lives of the people. So, let's go clear everybody out of the Goshu, and then tackle the enemy there. Them and the 5-headed dragon, both. And like, can we handle an opponent like that? Like, yeah, sure. Together, you're the biggest, baddest enemy ever. But, or he's like, sure, it's the biggest, baddest enemy ever. But I believe in you. If anyone can take these guys down, it's you. So the 5 members of, or I guess it's, yeah, there's 5. Sorry, the Blood Knight wasn't in that shot. And I was like, wait, there's supposed to be 5 of them. The 5 members of the 7 group are like, all right, let's do this. Blah. And we just get a collage of basically each member of the group using a special technique to take out one of them. So Blood Knight Girl uses a snow attack. Pervert Monk Guys like makes a big earth monk basically and punches them. Mask Guy has wind techniques. Rule 63 Luck uses lightning. And then Ichika uses her dark Yujutsu and cuts the head off the last one. It's like, boom, we've solved the problem of the 5-headed dragon. The Ryuzen 7 will never yield.
Yeah, it's a nice, quick action chapter just to kind of show off what some of these people can do. I hope that one of them was light attribute, though. Otherwise, the 5-headed dragon will not be destroyed by battle. So.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Now, Nick, if you were to design a Yu-Gi-Oh card based off this creature, what would it be?
It can't be good. It doesn't look it. I don't really like the design of this 5-headed dragon in particular very much. I think that there's a little bit. Its faces look too human, if you get what I mean.
I do.
The eyes are kind of too big, and the faces are like too humanly expressive. So I don't know. I feel like it'd be one of those types of things that like it has an effect that it essentially is like, oh, it's got 5,000 attack and it can attack 5 times per turn, but it's like, in order to summon this monster, you need to basically put your knee behind your ear, like kind of, and it's just like, well, no one will play this ever. So it looks cool on paper, and it's like, no, never, don't play this. So,
all right, Nick, let's finish it up with One Piece.
It's chapter 1070 of One Piece, the strongest form of humanity.
We get a cover page with Mads. Do you know anybody on that page, Nick?
No.
Okay, well, you know Vegapunk because he has the giant head.
Yes, he's kind of unmistakable.
There are 4 other people on there. I will say this. The one to the far right we should know, but we do know the other 3 people that are there.
Okay, if you say so.
Okay, so the person to the immediate left with the horns, that's Caesar Clown.
Is it?
Yeah. Remember he had like the little horns. The one to the right immediately is Judge. Sanji's dad.
Okay.
And then the one to the far left.
Is that Moria?
No. That's a good guess though. That is Queen. Presumably before he turned himself into a bionic fucking brontosaurus.
Okay. Because of the earring. Okay. Jeez.
We knew these 3 were all members of this group called Mads with Dr. Vegapunk. Now, the person to the far right, we don't know. The growing theory is that it's Stussy, who seems to have some level of knowledge of this group and also doesn't have a ton detailed about her. But yeah, that's that group.
This has been your weekly manga recap, One Piece lore dump. So last time in One Piece, I don't think we covered this chapter. The Axe Boy, according to Luffy, has been punched the fuck out of by Lucci, who realized, like, well, you're the one who's controlling the Seraphim, so if I kill you, then their control will default to us. So I'm just gonna do that. Fortunately, he's not super dead. And Lucci's like, God, I need go to sleep. I need you to go to sleep. So the Seraphim pay attention to me. But Luffy this time interferes, and I'm not sure exactly what he does. He, I guess, kicks? It's hard to tell from all the weird angles changing, honestly. But he knocks Lucci way away.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I guess he kind of spun him around because he's Tasmanian deviled himself, and since he's in his Gear 5 super cartoony form, I can't stop! He can't stop spinning. Look at his eyes swirl around the tornado.
Fun.
Jinbei and Chopper are trying to get his attention. They're like, "Come on, we need to take Vegapunk 6, Vegapunk 3,
5,
5, right? Oh, we need to take her over to main Vegapunk so that she won't die, basically." But Luffy is spinning so fast that he drills himself into the ground.
I love that. That's a great detail. There was an entire Sega Genesis game based on that. Aliens came to abduct Taz from the Looney Tunes, and you had to drill through the ground to get different places and escape their alien traps. It was hard. I never beat it. It was such a hard fucking game.
I do remember there being some Tasmanian Devil games, yes, but I don't remember that one. So the Seraphim start wreaking havoc, and Stussy says, like, yeah, they're still only children right now, so that's a bad sign. So they're gonna be super powerful. Frankie gets upset because he realizes that Jinbei is using the swim fruit powers, and he says, "That power belongs to my brother from another mother in the Don Quixote family, Senor Pink."
I love it. It's such a sweet little moment.
Because he thinks that Senor Pink is
He's
dead.
He's like, my friend.
Yeah, so Vegapunk 3, 4? 4.
I'm sorry, which one is it?
The giant robot-y one, so.
Oh, those two I forget. I don't know.
Yeah. He says, well, no, he's currently a prisoner in Impel Down. And so, like, wait, so you made the same devil fruit? And we get into, devil fruit lore, which
we didn't actually talk about this because this was a reveal in last chapter. The growing theory for devil fruits is that people wish them into existence because they are ways they want their body to change, which opens so many questions. Some motherfucker was like, I want to be a human, and boom, now Chopper's fruit exists.
Oh, boy. So, they say only Zoan-type devil fruits can be produced artificially if we rule out Caesar's smile aberrations. And Nami says, which you should, he deserves to die, which is a great little aside. Like that. So he says, virtually all fruits of that type, even the special ones, could probably be recreated with vast amounts of money and time, though I haven't confirmed if they can awaken. I tried everything I could think of with Logias, but they proved too difficult. For Paramethea types, however, I found that as long as you have the user's bloodline and elements, you can synthesize and administer a special kind of blood to confer those powers to others. That is the liquid running through their arms. Green blood! And we get a zoom in on some of the Seraphim's arms where there's, big canisters of green blood flowing around. So Hancock uses the love fruit powers.
We don't need to dwell on the implications of this. In fact, I'm headcanoning that her fruit works differently now. If you just have a strong enough spirit, that's how you resist it. Everyone else just gets turned to stone. And that's why it's happening. And the reason they have hearts for eyes is because they all just came from a Valentine's Day party. And they all had the glasses on still, which were like heart-shaped. And it fused with their faces.
Yeah, so Vegapunk keeps on talking up how awesome the Seraphim are. He says that they are the strongest form of humanity right now. And Nami realizes, like, oh, so they got rid of the 7 warlords because they're this powerful and they can theoretically be perfectly controlled instead of having to make deals with these pirates that you can't really trust for very long. That all happens. We cut over to where fight is still going on, involving Lucci and others. Lucci seems to be like getting into it up until Luffy reemerges from the ground with a giant head.
He becomes straight up. I forget who I saw tweet this, but he literally said it as perfectly. Luffy just straight up becomes a Cuphead boss.
He chomps down on Lucci, and well, he tries to. He misses, and instead eats the ground beneath him. So then he smashes his cheeks that have puffed out with the rubble and spits it out like bullets.
It's so wild seeing people fight Gear 5 Luffy.
Yep. He gums a tube, one of those like tube delivery system things, and slingshots himself back. And then because he realizes, oh, I gotta do something cool, he turns some of his hair into sunglasses and stabs them into face.
I legitimately, because I knew one day we were going to get, like, once they revealed that, like, Devil Fruit's going to awaken, I was like, all right, Luffy's going to get, like, a Devil Fruit, like, because he has a rubber power, turns the world into, like, rubber around him. So I thought it'd be stuff like this, like, he would turn stuff that's, like, structured into something he can bounce off of. Never in my wildest dreams did I think he would do something as cool as to take a piece of his hair and turn it into goggles so he could, like, fucking rocket himself across the scene.
Yeah, Lucy didn't see that coming. He gets his entire ribcage turned into a blister going through his back. And Lucci's like, Jesus Christ, why is he getting so much force? I feel my mind slipping away from me. People are still running around. Chopper and Jinbei are still trying to rescue their, carry-ons, and a Hancock Seraphim points them towards the vacuum rocket, and Jinbei takes just a moment to go, oh, thank you, you're a much nicer Hancock. And Hancock gets all sun with him, just like, I'm following orders, shut up.
I like that it does show that they maintain some level of their personality.
They're not just
robots, yeah.
Except for Kuma, he's a robot. So. Literally, I should say. So there's also I really love the detail of there is a voiceover safety system for when they get on the vacuum rocket. It's like, please keep all hands and feet inside the vehicle. Luffy manages to get on the ship just in time, and they take off as Luffy, goes into his old man side effect form. Just as Bonnie comes to and is like, what happened? What happened to you? So she's doing just great. She's keeping up.
Yep.
They get into the lab, and there are intruders running around everywhere, of course. Sentomaru is dead? Question mark?
Very well, you know what? I was about to say very unlikely dead, but then I was like, we did just see like Izo get like stabbed by a dude, and then eventually they cut to his fucking gravestone, so he might be dead. I don't know.
Yeah, Kaku gives him a little moment to be like, hey, you did a good job here, but it's a shame it had to come to this. So, yeah. We fucking killed you. So, Sussy asks if points out they're supposed to, wait for the Navy to get here, but Lucci says they're going to escape if we don't do anything. Everyone's talking with Vegapunk, just being like, why are they trying to kill you? Because, you're such a huge asset to the government. But he points out, like, well, what if you thought if the greatest mind in the world was going to start opposing you? I wasn't going to do that, but yeah. But Nami says, if he were to turn against us, that'd be bad. Let's kill him. Nami jumping to murder pretty quickly.
That sounds about right, though.
Yeah. So they bring up like, oh yeah, Vegapunk's gonna come with us on our ship. And Nami's like, what? No, he's useless. The world's most intelligent man. He's awful. So Luffy looks around the place that there are. Bonnie, of course, is like, you need to put my father back to normal. And also she's actually they're not there yet because they just arrived in the ship, Chopper and Luffy and Jinbei and Bonnie. And Bonnie's like, I'm gonna go fucking get Vegapunk, because like his response apparently to me demanding that he put my father back to normal was to unleash swarms of bugs on me, so I'm gonna kill him. It was like, all right, fair.
Well, not really fair. She used the weapon that summoned the bugs, and you told her not to. It's a prototype.
No. He invented the weapon, therefore still his fault.
I have been going after the dude who invented guns with so much legality. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. You have been responsible for every single one of these.
Oh, man. We be dead for hundreds of years. Fuck you, coward. Face the consequences of your actions.
Yeah, hiding. Be brave.
So now Lucci's group has a bunch of Seraphim on their side, and it looks like the Navy's showing up, and it looks like someone kind of dangerous might be showing up with them. Uh-oh.
Nick, who's that character?
It's Kizaru.
Yeah. Yes. Or
know this one.
Or Borsalano is his actual name. Kizaru is his title.
Okay. It's too many syllables. Too many syllables.
All
right.
Yeah. No.
So
I mean, when he even says you send every battleship to Egghead, I mean, it's hard not to see the parallels of Enies Lobby in them fighting a CP group led by Rob Lucci, and then potentially a Buster Call about to show up to destroy the planet, or not the planet, but the island. So we'll see. Let's see what happens here. This is going to be wild, though.
Yep. That's the chapter of One Piece. Quinn, what was your favorite chapter this week? And who's your MVP?
My favorite chapter this week, I'm going to give to... There were a lot of good chapters this week. A lot of really good ones. I think I'm going to give it to Undead Unluck. Just because it was a really solid chapter. I like the ending. I like I like the Ichika moment so much. Like, it was a lot of like little small things. I like getting excited about Volks, Void. Just cool stuff going on. And I kind of want to end the year on the note that I feel like I started on. I'm going to scroll all the way up here. It is. This is a bookend of Undead Unluck.
What? Quinn, you liked Undead Unluck this year? Can you what? I don't know.
Once or twice it managed to squeak in.
And this might be a weekly manga recap record for most selections by a host for a series. My chapter of the week is going to be Ginka and Luna. I really liked the conflict between Ginka and Scheherazade. I like the way that it ends, and I thought there was a lot of cool moments in it.
Yeah, very cool. My character of the week I'm going to give to Sora from PPPPP. I mean, I don't know if it's like the coolest character, but like I certainly have a much more complete idea of that character now. So I do really appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm going to make my character of the week Asa from Chainsaw Man.
That's a good one. I would have given it to Genji was another option.
Yeah, I just like how down she is and how vulnerable and how she just opens up and goes on for pages about how she, doesn't get it. It doesn't know what she wants to do with herself. And I do like how she straight up apologizes to Denji and says why she did so, even if he doesn't hear her. It's a lot more than I kind of was expecting to happen in terms of the honesty levels between them.
Yes. The audience, by the way, picked One Piece as their chapter of the week and Sora as their character of the week.
All right. Well, guys, next week we will not be talking about manga.
Well, we will be talking about manga.
We will be talking
but
about
we're
manga,
not going to talk
but
about
more
new manga.
Recap manga, yeah. So I think it'll be a good time to do our year-end, our yearly retrospective, talk about some of the stuff that we talked about this year, 2022. Manga recap.
And maybe we'll still get, I guess, the wrestler in there. Morgs! Yeah!
Yeah, it was the year of Morg. No, it wasn't.
They were like, that showed up in late November.
The year of Morg!
Morg. As I pull, like knocking over an ambulance. Morgs.
Listen, guys, I don't think you understand how this works. If you just push hard enough, you can convince a major movie studio that you actually like something, and they will try and release it.
I'm going to get them to release Morbius a third time. Just watch.
So we will be doing our annual retrospective. We'll talk about some of the stuff that we've taken as recommendations. We will talk about events that have happened in this year of manga and see if Nick can remember what happened at the beginning of this past year. Given my track record in this entire episode, I have my doubts in terms of my ability to guess and remember things. And we'll start working on Earthchild, I guess. Too.
Yeah! Hey, and I know some people voted for other things. There was a big competition going in the vote, actually. There was a lot of, like, hype leading into it. Stay tuned. I think you'll see several of the things that were highly voted make it in there. I'm gonna see if I can't make it happen. I want to talk to the big boss. Jesus.
Guys,
J-Man, can we talk about Full Metal Alchemist? He's like, I don't know.
Weekly Manga Recap is brought to you by the church. Well, you didn't realize this.
Yeah. Boom.
Most religious podcasts on the web.
That's why we're under the religious section.
The Bible things and Moses.
Yeah, dude. Manga's all about the Bible. Remember fucking Bible Black? That shit fucking was so Christian it was wild.
Weekly Manga Recap will return in its usual form in 2023 after we do this annual recap, guys. Thank you for joining us for the show. We record here on Wednesday evenings on twitch.tv/RoloT, generally starting around 7:30 Eastern time. But to stay updated on when the show goes live, you can follow us on social media, whatever forms of social media that will end up lasting. At RoloT is her. At Nick F. Time is me. At WMR Podcast is we. And the WMR Podcast will send out a notification when the stream goes live, which you can also get via the Discord server by joining us, talk with the rest of the Weekly Manga Recap community, whom Ninja X3I is currently recruiting to do last-minute nominations for the year-end polls right now for all the audience categories and selections for things. Make your voice heard and say what your favorite, weirdest, etc. moments in manga were for this year, and we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Probably so.
I would say this is also a good time if you're listening to this episode. You should check my Twitter and the WMR Podcast Twitter accounts, assuming Twitter is still operational, because I will likely have retweeted a link so that you can vote for the supplementals that we'll be talking about next week.
That's right. And we also want to give special thanks to, first of all, everyone who has supported us this year, has stuck around in our viewing experience. I feel like, honestly, we got like closer to you guys this year, and I really appreciate the support that you have showed us in what we've been doing.
Yeah, especially after I released those brain viruses into some of your computers, and it latched itself through your ear. I'm definitely close to you now. Yep.
Really good of you to just keep on going.
I know what advertising data you get now. That's the whole reason why I did it. I was like, I wonder if they get a lot of sneaker ads.
You were just, not for any nefarious purposes, you were just curious.
I'm just like, that's wild. You guys don't get as many sports betting website ads as I do? That's crazy. I feel like I get them all the time. I've never bet. I just assumed everybody got them.
We are on Patreon, patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap. We are on YouTube, youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap if you want to watch the video version of the show. We are also wherever podcasts can be listened to, Spotify, iTunes, and weeklymangarecap.podbean.com for the audio version. That video version has some stuff made for us by wonderful people, including Milo Jack Stillis and Lizzie Dowd Cheddar, who created the opening sequence of the video version of the show. And some videos include art for the thumbnail done by Steve Man, who draws boobs, and some of the thumbnails he draws for us cannot be used on YouTube, but we appreciate him anyway.
Yes, he still gets paid for them. I just sit there and I'm like, this is just something for us to enjoy.
I guess. And guys, I think that is gonna do it. We will see you all for the annual manga recap next week.
More.